A note to the listeners, episode 92 contains some brief explicit language. Word nerd, wordsmith, wordy, wordless. Oxford Dictionary says a word is a single, distinct, meaningful element of speech or writing, used with others or sometimes alone. We say each one matters. No extra words is literature, minimalist style. And we're getting you right to the story. Kintsugi by Jacqueline Tan. How often is kintsugi the last man standing? As usual, I don't have the answer, but I'll tell you what it looks like when it does happen. You recognize them by their cracks. Chaos is proven in each hairline fracture, like a mouth overcrowded with teeth. They are the last ones still trying to recall the difference between a change in appearance and a disguise, the difference between voyaging, leaving, and escaping. Across the room, we are too busy swallowing apologies that should not be handed out. We kept the pottery pieces, dressed the corners and shelves deshabille. It seemed to make the bareness resound a little less, which was the best we could do. Still, every time someone spoke, a voice would toss itself down half-heartedly, finally settling into a crumpled mass at the bottom of the stairs, as though it was something that might get thrown out with the trash. I wondered whether picking up the pieces, rearranging them, and joining them with lacquer would make them worth keeping. How often do you look in a mirror and think kintsugi? How often do you become a structure that no one can identify, not even yourself? The crisp fall has come again, and I rarely get my rules jumbled up, rarely forget which expressions and mannerisms belong to which surroundings. Some days, kintsugi is a freedom I do not want, but it is all I can afford. On such days, the thoughts on the tip of my tongue narrowly escape being pinpointed. Hello there! Welcome to No Extra Words, the Flash Fiction Podcast. My name is Chris Baker-Dersch. I'm your producer and editor. Before I get to discussing today's stories, I want to go straight into our segment. And this is going to be a repeating segment over the next couple of episodes. This is my NaNoWriMo segment, because it is the season where writers all over the world are preparing for the exhilarating, frustrating, and challenging experience of trying to write the rough draft of a novel in 30 days. And this year, that list of writers includes me. So before I start talking about my journey, which I'm going to separate into the next 3 episodes, we're going to talk about NaNoWriMo, so I'm not going to hit you with it all in one blow. I want to just briefly explain to the uninitiated what this particular experience is. NaNoWriMo is an acronym for National Novel Writing Month. I think it's actually international at this point, but NaNoWriMo is the term that has stuck. And it is a challenge issued by a nonprofit organization, the Office of Letters and Light, based out of San Francisco, for writers of all stripes. Professional, amateur, emerging, young, old, everybody, to try their hand at writing a novel in 30 days. The rough draft of a novel in 30 days. The folks at NaNoWriMo define the rough draft of a novel as 50,000 words, which is a little bit on the short side for a novel, but definitely falls into the beginnings of that novel category. And the reason they do that is because they think 50,000 words is something that's very doable for a lot of people to do in 30 days. It works out to just over 1,600 words a day if you write every day, which is about 5 pages typewritten of your standard manuscript. So the challenge is simply to do that, and the organization makes no promises about what happens to your novel after that. You know, it's not a publishing scheme. It's not anything. It's just designed to provide the community and the inspiration to writers that they need to get that first draft of their great American novel into the world. And some people go on to revise theirs and publish them either with a traditional publishing house or through an independent or self-publishing method. I have won twice, and I have never touched either of those rough drafts again because I came out of both of those experiences not liking my story, but proud of myself that I had gone through the experience of writing it. I did that twice. You would have thought I would have learned, but there you go. It's a great organization. They provide community. They have volunteer organizers in regions all over the world who get people together in person for write-ins. They organize community organizations like libraries and community centers and senior centers to be places where writers can come together and write. And they provide materials to schools for a young writers program that allows K-12 teachers to help facilitate creative writing in their classrooms. So that's National Novel Writing Month. Like I say, I've done it. I've won twice. I've participated 3 times. The last time I participated was in 2014. I had a 6-month-old baby at the time, and I went into November very excited. And I kid you not, on the first day of November, he went through this epic sleep regression, and I thought he was never going to sleep again. And I think I got as far as 2,600 words that month. That's the last attempt that I did. I also did a camp NaNoWriMo. That's something they offer twice a year. It has a little bit less structure to it. Doesn't have the regional organizations and that kind of stuff. It's designed to be more informal. You basically say, in the month of April or whatever, I'm going to write X number of words. And you can choose to be assigned to or create a cabin of people. That's your little kind of chat board or forum board that helps you through it. So I did that in April of 2015. Started writing some flash fiction, and that led to what you are listening to right now. So NaNoWriMo, in many ways, is really the origin story for this particular show. I just want to briefly talk about where I am right now in my journey and see what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give you a snapshot of where I am at this moment. And then in the next couple of episodes, I'm going to give you advice that I have as someone who's done this, and also advice that I'm taking as I take on this year's challenge, where I'm hoping to A, finish, and B, not hate my story. Those are my 2 goals for this particular November. But this is where I've been the last couple weeks of what nanos, or Rhymos as they're called, call Preptober. So writers, especially Rhymos, tend to divide themselves into 2 basic categories: the planners, who have everything outlined and know where they're going, and the pantsers, as in fly by the seat of yore, who just pick up a pencil or whatever, open their laptop on November 1st and just start writing. Most people fall somewhere in the middle. Most people are not. There are hardcore outliners among us, but most people have some kind of a flexible plan and then do some crazy writing by the seat of your pants. But there are extremes. So I am not a pantser. I tried it once and it was not good. Did not go well for me. I have learned, especially, I'm a short story person. It's one of the things I've learned about myself, hence what you're listening to right now. But I do want to put some of those longer works into the world. That is a goal of mine. And so one of the things that I've learned is I cannot get through a big, long project without some kind of a plan. 50,000 words is super intimidating for me. I know you novelists out there do it all the time, but for me, I work in this medium where a lot of what I write is sort of 400 to 700 words. And when I do attempt longer projects, they are often for children, and so they are shorter. So 50,000 words is a big, tall mountain for me, and I cannot do it without a plan. But I need to stay flexible in what I plan, because I need to have some flexibility, because characters will talk to you. So I am a hybrid, but I definitely lean more on the planning side. And so, okay, so my goal was to not hate my story, which meant I needed to create one that I was going to like. And one of the things the NaNoWriMo people really recommend is starting November with a fresh project. Brand new. So I had this, I wonder what would happen if I wrote a cozy mystery thought one day. And I picked up a cozy mystery at the used bookstore that was a cozy mystery with some supernatural elements, and that sounded like fun. And I thought, this is perfect for NaNoWriMo. It'll be fall, it'll be dark, it's fun to write like something slightly spooky. And so I spent an afternoon when I was supposed to be at work, sitting on the reference desk making notes. Please don't tell my bosses, but when the reference desk is quiet, I make notes about stories. Confessions of a Writer, Librarian. And so I started making notes, and I created some characters, and there were some ghosts, and it was fun. was having a good time, and I had an outline, and it's definitely middle grade, so it probably wasn't going to run to 50,000 words, but I thought maybe I could get close, and that's where I was. And I started doing some kind of tweets, like teasing my story. And I thought, I'll come on the podcast and I'll tell everyone, like on Tuesdays, I'm doing Twitter fiction. That's just little short nano fictions about what I'm writing, all of that. But you know what? Sometimes you don't get to choose what stories you tell. Sometimes they choose you. That's how that goes. And through this whole process, I have a story that I started last fall about this time that I've been wanting to write for a long time. And I pantsed it because one day I just needed to write it. And so I started working on it, and I didn't think it was going to be a novel. But it got longer and longer. And because I had pantsed it, it really started to fall apart because plotting is not something I do well without some kind of a direction. I need a compass. I need a guidebook. So that was not going well. So I got 30,000 words into it and stopped. And I'll be honest, I'm not even sure where that draft is right now. It's in a notebook. I hand wrote it, the whole story. So that story has been bugging me all year long. But it's heavy. It's serious. It's challenging. It deals with a shooting. Talk about your bad timing, among other things. And I thought, this is not a NaNoWriMo project that I want to do. It's not, it's not light and fluffy and fun. And then I realized I have done light and fluffy and fun for NaNoWriMo before and not liked it. And I was in one of the forums on the NaNoWriMo website talking about sort of this writer in distress. Oh my gosh, I have these two ideas. I can't choose. And I found myself writing, I am passionate about this idea. And I said, okay, that's my answer. I am passionate about this idea. This is the story that wants to be told. So if I'm going to make it through this journey of 50,000 words in 30 days without hating my story or quitting, that's the one I have to tell. Even though it's hard. Even though it's niche. Even though it may be difficult to find an audience for. Even though it's all those things, there are some things you are just called to do. There are some stories you have to tell, even just to get them out of your head. And so that's where I am. I know these characters really, really well because I've written them. And I know the arc that they're going to go on because I have it in my head. But I need some plot work to do on this story where I need to figure out, some of the nitty-gritties of when and how certain events are going to happen. And one of the problems I was having in the rough draft is I was giving them too many crises to deal with. It spiraled. And so I need to rein it in a little bit and make sure to give them some time to exist in their world and cope with the things that are happening. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to write it. This story chose me. So, if you are a Rimo, I would love to be your writing buddy. I will put my profile link on the National Novel Writing Month website in the show notes. It is NaNoWriMo, NaNoWriMo.org. If you are interested in joining, it is free. It is a DIY kind of an operation, so you can join in, find your local group, and start writing, because I do firmly believe it's one of the reasons I have this podcast, that everybody's story needs to be told. So in the next couple episodes, I am going to talk a little bit about how I'm prepping and some advice that I have for people who are doing this as someone who has done it badly and hopes to do better. Both things that come out of my own head and things that I have heard from others that I'm going to try to incorporate. So I want to take you a little bit on this journey with me as I get back into this, because this is the first time I've gone into NaNoWriMo nervous, which I think is good. I think it's the good kind of nervous this time. I think it's speaking well to what I am about to create. I hope the same is true for you. I am anticipating, so I want to give you some heads up as to what's coming up on the show. I am anticipating finishing the next 2 episodes following this one while it is still October. So the episode you will hear in mid-November, which is already planned and locked down, it's probably going to be recorded during October because I am probably going to be spending November writing. So I'm going to try to work ahead a little bit on this show. So I don't know if you will actually hear my live from NaNoWriMo in November. If you do, it means I've fallen behind. So be aware of that. I think what you're going to hear is more of my prepping and my tips. And then I have just made a decision that we are taking the holiday season, quote unquote, off. We have scheduled episodes to go out the Friday after Thanksgiving, the middle of December, and there's one scheduled to come out right around Christmas. I think it might be scheduled for a couple of days before Christmas. I have decided that for my own sanity and the needs of my own life, I am not going to do new episodes for those. So we are doing our very first ever re-releases, best ofs. We've done from the archives before, where we've shared stories we've shared in the past, but I've never done a re-release of a whole episode where I got to look at it again, record new commentary, and see it with fresh eyes. So that is the plan for those 3 holiday season episodes. So you will have content, it will come to you, it'll be on your feed just like everything else, but it's not going to be brand new. And then we'll do brand new starting in New Year. If you're interested in submitting, be aware that's the timeline. We're absolutely taking submissions for 2018, but it might take us a couple extra weeks to get back to you because things are kind of in flux around these parts. One thing I definitely want to say, though, is we are absolutely still looking for women writers to share their stories on women's health and choice. Those are coming in, but I would love to have some more to choose from as we build that episode. Those really need to reach me by Friday the 20th of October. So, and they can be fiction, nonfiction, or poetry. So if you would like more details, all of that is at noextrawords.wordpress.com. The call is there. And that's the kind of thing where even if that does not apply to you, if you have people in your life or a network with whom you can share that information, it is very hard for us to get those specialty calls out. And I would love to do more themed episodes. That's one of the things I hear from you guys all the time is, I loved your episode that you put together around blah, blah, blah. Can we have more of those kind of planned in advance theme episodes? And the answer is yes, if we can have some help getting the word out, because we do not have an advertising budget. And so it's very hard to get the word out to writers to get those submissions. So yes, I want to do more of them. Please help by sharing with your people. And now I'm going to talk very, very briefly about today's stories. We started with kintsugi. I think to give that story context, it's helpful for you to know that kintsugi is a Japanese art of repairing broken pottery. So what you do with kintsugi is you take something that is broken and you repair it with a lacquer that has a metallic, like a gold or a silver tone to it. The idea being that you respect the history of the item and make the fact that it was broken part of its experience. So you make it usable again while honoring what it has been in the past and almost make it more beautiful in its reincarnation, which I think is amazing. How we show our damage to the world, I think, is really what today's episode is. It's how we reveal to the world us as damaged humans. So in the first story, you hear about her metaphor of this kintsugi and how she's putting on this face and how she has to show these different parts of her brokenness and her different elements of life. The story that is coming up next follows the same topic. It's about how we show our damage, for better or for worse, in our interactions with others. I want to note that this story is set in Vegas. Its author, Dan Hernandez, lives in Vegas. That's a coincidence. This story's been planned for a long time before current events happen in Vegas. You all have heard me struggle with this in the past. I have a hard time knowing exactly how to put current events into this show because A, it's planned really far in advance, and B, we are not a political commentary or a social commentary show or a news show. We're a fiction show. And so when something happens, I always have a moment of how do I incorporate this in? And oftentimes what we're learning is we read literature in the context of the time that we are experiencing reading it. But I just want to say I'm thankful that I have this opportunity to honor Vegas by sharing a story that's authentically set there. And to Dan Hernandez, his friends, and all the residents of Las Vegas, please know that we appreciate your city in its strength and in its joy and in its good times and in its bad times. And our thoughts are with you all there. So coming up next, Dan Hernandez, All the Hard Ways. And I will see you in a couple weeks for another regularly scheduled episode of the No Extra Words podcast. You all take care of yourselves.
All the Hard Ways by Dan Hernandez. It's always strange to walk down the street with your ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend, and also some guy who thinks you stole his bicycle. I'm telling you, damn it! The bike was right there on the same rack as yours, the guy said. Where is it? Hey! Fine then. Fine, I'll follow you. The sexual tension, I mean, still hummed loudly between Marisol and me. We were both drinking at the Double Down Saloon, first time I'd seen her in a while. You know that thing where ex-lovers spot each other across a room, and while one of them tries to make eye contact, the other sort of dances with the attention? Performs a little bit of her happiness with a new man? They seemed like a new couple. I could tell by Mari's painted-on smile, her sneaky side glances, that she battled boredom and distraction, worked painfully hard to show enthusiasm for whatever common ground they'd found in conversation. With her generously endowed nose, and her hair, those curls that sprigged out in wild rebellion, she looked more than pretty. I interrupted, and Mari lit up like the Luxor. I swear you could have seen her from space. You are very drunk, Mari told the guy who thought we stole his bicycle. The three of us, me, Mari, her new boyfriend, were en route to a nearby casino. Now we were a party of 4. I know your kind. Every bike thief in town just a snap away. The guy paced side to side on the sidewalk behind us. That was a Cannondale, but of course you know that. Show me your cell phones. We crossed into a drab part of Vegas's tourist fringe. It was about as close to the Strip as I like to get. Shop windows framed with neon lights showed rusty security gates. The guy's heavy breathing, his huffing and puffing and snorting, my God, was he keying coke? Grew louder. Call him! Call whoever's holding my bike! Get him here now! Mari's new boyfriend, Cameron, shouted back, We didn't steal your bicycle. Cameron had attracted the problem, so I was set on letting him defuse it. I mean, by pushing one of those sleek, fixed-geared bicycles, he was making us all look affiliated with some sort of hardcore cycling gang. As you can see, I already have this beautiful fixie, he said. And them, Cameron referred to me and Mari now, do they even look like they ride? Well, I took offense to that. How could Mari date such a grandiose prick? A guy who didn't even know how to play craps. Apparently he created some new app destined to change paradigms, which figured, you know that ilk. Yes, he was good-looking, tall with a V-shaped torso, a pair of thighs flattered by spandex instead of insulted like mine. He had butterscotch blonde hair, another feature I envied as someone who disliked his own dark hair and eyes. But those gloves! Cameron wore leather cycling mitts with air holes for knuckles, the fingertips cut off. He pushed his bike with one hand and held Mari's little palm in the other. It was too much for me to see her accept his greasy, leather lingerie grip. I cringed. Why aren't you listening? The guy shouted, his footsteps quickening behind us. I want answers because there's 3 of you and only 1 bike. And what's wrong with that? You need 2 more. So where did you stash mine? We passed a check-cashing place, an African grocery store, a Mexican notary. The street would give us 2 more rundown shopping centers and a dirt lot before we'd reach Koval, where we turned right to find my favorite casino housed inside a Super 8. Mari wasn't sure we'd make it. Cam, what should we do? She said. His answer was, ignore him, babe. I thought to myself, babe? It seems a little soon for that sort of thing. Mari looked past her boyfriend then, to me, like maybe I should take a stand. I was a man of action, too. You know, I said, when I hear that nickname Cam, I can't help think of a cheap, plastic, amateur pornographer's gadget of choice. Were you named after your parents' favorite toy? Cameron said, Why are we hanging out with this person? You must think I'm a real loser, escorting you to our old casino. You see me as some kind of third wheel, but we're about to hit a little road by the name of Memory Lane, a place with dice and drinks, and Mari and I winning together at craps where you won't even exist. Technically, Cameron said, you're the 5th wheel. Ah, yes, I'd forgotten about his beautifully organic bicycle. No clunky brake system, single speed, a free-range, grass-fed aluminum body, gluten-free tires for an all-natural ride. I'm not joking about this, the guy said. If I don't get my bike back, I will go to town on you hipsters. We strode past an empty lot where an actual tumbleweed actually came bouncing onto the sidewalk. One of those escort pamphlets whipped into the air from the gutter, bobbing and weaving. It flapped past our head in a blur of nipples and hips that might have advertised an impending brawl. Mari said, "Jerry, I thought you were over things. You said it was all water under the bridge. That's what you said." Before I could respond, before I could remind her that there are no bridges in Las Vegas, no water either, before I could admit that I had lied, the guy darted between us. Holding out his arms and smiling a psychotic grin that showed his incisors, he said, "Someone's getting fucked up over this." "Take my bike," Cameron told Mari. "Ride ahead, I'll catch up." The crazy guy peeled off his t-shirt. "Mari can't ride that thing, it's dangerous," I said. And indeed, she struggled to get away, large as it was. Plus the pedals rotate automatically. There are no brakes on those damn things. Cameron crouched in a wrestler's position. "Jerry," he said from his fight stance, "about what you said earlier, I don't think you or this guy or anyone is a loser. Confidence, that's my metric for success." I was going to say something very confident then, about how wrong he was for Mari, when suddenly the guy roared. He charged forward, spearing me to the dirt. Frothing and slurring, he shouted in my face, "I love that bicycle!" I kind of knew where the maniac was coming from. The natural response to losing what you love is to go on the attack. Fuck filing a police report. Screw living well. Vigilante justice is the best revenge. I wanted to tell the guy, "Go for Cameron. He's the thief." I was ready to announce that we were on the same side when the guy knelt into my groin. I couldn't speak or breathe. Now flash forward 20 minutes. Past the violence to what's important, Mari's reaction. She waited for us in a pink-hued slot machine aisle. Cameron's bike rested against the Wheel of Fortune unit, its jingling jackpot ditty providing an odd soundtrack for the couple's tearful reunion. I received a less emotional response. I was used to being snubbed by Mari in casinos, where she had preferred we make safe wagers, while I liked to bet all the hard ways. This time, though, it was because I only showed a few scratches. Literally, I had 3 fingernail marks on my forehead, from where the guy palmed my face. Cameron, though, he looked as if someone had smacked him in the face with a cherry pie. "How could you date this person?" he cried out. Pinching a cocktail napkin to his nose, he explained how, at the final moment before the guy laid into me, right as the maniac cocked his fist, he, Cameron the Incredible, whacked the guy in the face with a kryptonite U-lock. The guy's jaw or nose or something broke. It sounded like a golf club hit a pumpkin. We assumed the ruckus was over, but no. The guy staggered to his feet. "My bicycle," he said. Cameron swung the lock again, whiffing this time as the guy ducked. Suddenly they were grappling, grunting like animals and kicking up dirt as they locked arms and spun in circles. Cameron was flung into a patch of weeds and the maniac dove on top of him. He started hammering into Cameron. He didn't just go to town, he got dinner then ordered dessert. Lifting his fists skyward, he summoned gravity's support for each vicious blow. "Your ex," Cameron said. Took his precious time offering me assistance. "I saw you brushing dirt off your jeans while that guy wailed on me." I worried he was also going to mention my search for a missing shirt button. Cameron must have missed that part, yelping and writhing as he was under the flurry of punches. He skipped to what happened next. "Hardly put much effort into that choke, now did you? Jerry here put his hands around that maniac's neck and then hardly squeezed. That psycho kept pounding into me, while this miserable punk pretended to strangle him, all for show." So maybe I did. Perhaps it's true that I took my time stepping in. Maybe it's also the case that when I put my hands around that madman's throat, I hardly squeezed. It was a half-hearted grip, but I couldn't help that. Whether this communicated some message, "Go ahead, hit him, I'm with you," well, that was incidental. In the end, I did rescue Cameron, because there was a moment when the maniac paused from bloodying Cameron's bullseye of a face to notice that I'd collared his neck. He recognized our kinship, yet wanted no part of it. That's when he stood up, backed away, scanned the scene in confused fright. How did he get into this mess? He sure didn't know. At that point I yelled, "Get out of here! Leave or I'll call the cops!" And the guy bolted into the darkness. When I helped Cameron to his feet, he grumbled something about how very generous I was. We walked the rest of the way to the casino in silence, quiet except for Cameron's occasional groan or wince. "Jerry," Mari said when the story was finished. I suppose she was offering me a chance to confirm or deny what her boyfriend had just said. Rather than do either, I merely shrugged. "Honey," Mari told Cameron, "I'm sure Jerry tried his best, but he's not as strong as you are. Jerry is not a fighter."
Thanks for listening to the No Extra Words podcast. For more information about today's stories and contributors, or to learn how to submit your own work, please visit us at noextrawords.wordpress.com. If you would like to support the show, please tell a few friends about us, or you can visit patreon.com/noextrawords to pledge your financial support. See you next time.